Welcome to another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge podcast, where we talk about leadership and successful entrepreneurs and veterans come and tell their story. I hope you enjoy the show. Follow me. Let's go. Welcome to another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge podcast. Today I have Duane Cummings as a guest. But before we go into our conversation, hi, Duane.
Hey, JJ.
I do want to let everybody know that this is brought to you by Victory Leadership Coaching, which is my company. And the goal of this podcast is just to highlight veterans and successful entrepreneurs so people are inspired to go out there and follow their dreams. Don't forget to read my book. I have two. One is Warrior Leadership, The Journey from Coach to Entrepreneur. The other is Why Organizations Should Develop Their Leaders. It's a pocket guide to help people understand the different aspects of leadership development. And Duane, it's awesome to have you on here. How's your day going so far? I know it's kind of a special day of the year for you.
Yeah, I apologize for the balloons, JJ. It's just another day older, just a little more gray, a little more hair. Yeah.
I hear you. Is your birthday going well so far?
It's going amazing. Yeah. Every day is like any other day for me. Every day ends in a why. Like, why am I alive? Why am I doing what I'm doing? So yeah, just blessed. Started out the day with my wife, which we've been married 39 years. And now I'm in the office. Yeah. That's like that's a win nowadays, 39 years.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, now I'm in the office and we're getting things done. We are at the closing out the month. We've had a big month. So yeah, it's great.
Well, Duane, for more than one reason, I appreciate you being on here, but you are working with a wonderful organization that does a lot for our warriors out there right now. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe a little bit about the organization that you got?
Sure. I mean, that's why I'm here, to serve. So for the organization, it's Warriors for Freedom Foundation. It's been around 14 years. We've incorporated like 12 years ago. The co-founders, Brett Dick and Major Ed Polito, are both good longtime friends and just wanted to make a difference in the community. Wanted to make a difference for veterans and those families. And so we've kind of changed or evolved a little bit over time. But in 2014, it really solidified who we were and the mission when the height of, unfortunately, veteran suicide was like peaking, and it was going crazy. Is like well over 22 at that time. And so VA came out with a report, and our organization decided, like, let's make that the underlying mission of everything we do. So every day we get up, we're working to end veteran suicide. And depending on the reports you hear, those numbers are lower, and they're lower in our state, luckily. So we're making a dent. But by doing that, or the things that we do to accomplish that are, building camaraderie, helping people transition from active duty, helping them find resources to deal with PTSD and TBIs. So our programming ranges from scuba to golf. A couple nights ago, we had our bowling bonanza, which is family friendly. Everybody comes out, all the way down to the little kids, bowl, eat, have a good time. We do fishing for freedom, pulling for freedom, warrior shootout, which is golf events and programming. And then we do a lot of volunteer stuff. We're at the VA homes, VA hospital. We partner with other organizations in the city that provide like perishable foods, or non-perishable foods. We make love bags and gratitude bags, and we get them out to our veterans. We do ride services. So we kind of do a lot of things, but every day when we get up, what we know is we're working to eliminate veteran suicide. Yeah. So that's the organization. I always say that I'm just, a part of a great team, because I really am. We have a very strong board. A lot of members actually started out as they're veterans, and they came in.
Did we
As well. And then we say the heart of our organization is a lady named years, about to hit 9 years. She was with muscular dystrophy for 20 before that. She's an angel and a saint when it comes to the nonprofit world in this city and around the area. And her dad was a veteran, and she's got a heart for veterans. So that's the organization. And just to make sure everybody understands, one of the troubles with veteran nonprofits sometimes is you don't get a lot of resources, and you always feel like you have your hand out. So we're working really hard to be self-sustaining. So we launched a thrift store this last year, Purposeful Thrift. So, and that also has another aspect to it where we're trying to put veterans to work. So yeah, that's the organization. And how I got here is like, wow, this would have to be a 4-hour episode, like Gilligan's Island trip or something. But yeah, long story short, I was an athlete when I was younger. I was pretty decent at some stuff, but I got a college scholarship to go play soccer at Cal State Northridge, and um, I spent more time at the beach than I did in class. I lost that, so I got those 4 amazing offers: Army, Air Force, Navy, or Marines by my mom, who walked me down to where the recruiters' offices were going to be. And I chose the Army. Candidly, is because at the time I got the largest bonus for a combat MOS and the shortest enlistment time. So I was like, I'm getting in, I'm getting out. Although people in my life have served, and I honored the military and all that, but very fortunate. I got to go. My first duty station was the 101st, and I spent time in the second ID in Korea, and I felt like I was kind of hard charging, and so I really it got me on track in life. But I knew I was probably never going to make it 20 years. I just was kind of a maverick, which later on I figured out is another word for that's an entrepreneur. Yeah, so got out, continued to stumble along, make some mistakes, got some great opportunities and squandered them. But along the way, I had more wins or bigger wins than I had losses. So, we say I've kind of had a Forrest Gump life. I just kind of kept running. But been fortunate. I launched a clothing company in the early 2000s, and that was when .coms were going well. That ended up doing well. I exited. I've been partners in an oil and gas company that exited during. We sold to a a publicly held company. So I've just along the way, I've kind of been very fortunate. And the military taught me: you work hard, you follow the mission, you never leave anybody behind. You make the people around you better than they are. And I just took those lessons and then my competitive athletic background team and just applied them to the business world. And so I had gone off and always around the military, lots of good friends that are in the military, support different military organizations, but had this arc of a life that was publicly facing and CEO, COO, executive director, written a couple books. And we were moving back from California to Oklahoma, where my wife is from, and we've lived here off and on for the last 40 years, to take care of her father, candidly, because he's ill, and we wanted to be closer to him. And along that, with that decision, I was talking to different friends, and somebody said, "Hey, Warriors for Freedom, their executive director is leaving to go pursue a personal business, and that'd be perfect for you. You've got this acumen out there that would be applicable, and you've been an executive director before, and veterans, and the Oklahoma market, and like you could really do this." And I had known Major Ed Polito, one of the co-founders, from like a long time ago. He wrote a book, Freedom. Warrior for Freedom, singular, not Warriors for Freedom. But I was there at his book launch, and I was just around, and so I spoke to the board, and they drew a bunch of short straws, and they got me, unfortunately. Yeah.
So luck of the draw, or whatever you want to call it, you're there.
Yeah. So it's been 10 months. We're building on the things that have been before us. Has been a great organization, lots of fantastic people and business owners in the community that are involved. So we're just, I'm just at the helm, but you know how it is when you're a leader. Your whole goal is to help other people be better at what they're doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, thank you for being part of an organization like that. So you said you're in Oklahoma. Where specifically is that in Oklahoma?
Yeah, it's on the border of Oklahoma City and Edmond. Edmond is a suburb of North OKC. We do other things and serve other people. We have members in the community that are all over the country because, as you know, they might move here and move away. We also serve active duty, guard, reserve, and their families in need. We've partnered with like Blue Star Mothers organization, and we have events sometimes in Colorado or bordering states. But our headquarters is considered here in Edmond, Oklahoma, which is like almost geographically the heart of the entire country. So, we'll continue to take care of here, but then the goal of course is to grow and expand as we can. So.
Okay. Well, so you served in the Army. You fumbled around in the civilian world, did some awesome things in the civilian world, and now you are the director of a nonprofit. Well, executive director of a nonprofit, because they have many boards of directors, but you're
Right.
the executive director, and you have a great team. You're doing some things. What are some things that that you guys have going on right now that you'd be willing to share? I mean, I would imagine there are some people listening in that local area. Do you have some specific events coming up?
We do, and to give when we say the local area, one of the reasons being in Oklahoma is really advantageous for serving veterans is there's 4 million people in the state, and over 400,000 of them are either veterans, active duty, guard, reserve, or we've got a lot of bases and posts here. So instantly, one out of every 10 people you're going to walk across probably needs some kind of help. And even if they're in right now, they don't teach you how to transition well. They say, hey, exit, your time's over. Here's the VA number, and good luck with you. And so we're trying to help bridge that gap. But our events, for instance, in the fall, we have a Fishing for Freedom event that's held on the state border of Oklahoma and Arkansas at Lake Eufaula. A couple days. This year, we had 50 veterans out there with 50 professional guides that bring their boats. We have support from the MLF and all kinds of, Ranger and all kinds of people. Luz and Cass King, they give them all their gear, those kind of things. So that's a big one in the fall that everybody loves. They sign up for. We just finished in January. We did a lot of family friendly things because the weather in Oklahoma was not so good. So like 2 nights ago, we had the bowling bonanza. So, dozens of families in there. They can bring all their kids. Some people have 4 or 5 kids. They're having burgers and fries and drinks and bowling, and just a good time for camaraderie. Because as you know, some of the people with PTSD or TBIs, they struggle in a lot of ways. Sometimes they struggle around getting together at certain events because, maybe they're alcohol focused, or other events that are just, a little chaotic. This gives them a chance to be around their family and just kind of let loose and have fun. So go ahead. You took a breath. It sounded like you wanted to ask him.
Well, no, it's okay. I'm active listening here. You're saying some good things.
Well, so you asked what events are coming up, and we have a calendar that we post, and we're updating it all the time because to be a good nonprofit, you got to know what you're going to spend this year and what you're budgeting and all those kind of things. So we have, for instance, golf programming, and in the past we had lots of golf events. Many of them were fundraisers, and we had switched that now to where like 6 times out of the good months of the year, so like May, June, July, August, they'll be at different courses. There's availability for up to 50 veterans. They sign up, they get to go, they play for free. And then we do have a golf event that's a fundraiser. We have scuba, and there's different people going through different aspects of certification. So like last year, we certified with a partner of ours, like 22 initial orientation, get their certification. Some people do, rec or deep, and then they go off and they take a trip alone and they go to Bon Air or as a group, but away from our organization. So we have that ongoing. We do a lot of outreach. So, last week, again, it's winter, so we're doing a lot of outreach to the veterans' homes. There's one in Norman, Oklahoma, which is a southern suburb where OU is, and they've got several hundred people. They're actually, part of them are locked down because of the flu right now. So we took them hostess, treats and snacks, and it varies. Like probably one of our biggest responses, we partnered with Savannah Bananas this summer. I don't know if you know who that is.
No, I've never heard of them.
So they're like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. They travel around the country. It's ridiculous. Like I heard they just sold out a stadium for 80,000 people, but you should look them up. Total entertainment, fantastic. They did 3 dates in Oklahoma City, and we went to volunteer, which as an organization, you're always looking for resources. That bought us co-op money and opportunity to do events at our ballpark with our AAA baseball team. But we went and volunteered. You get to see the show for free. We've partnered with organizations like Dell Technologies. Their ERG and employees come out and they volunteer with our veterans. And if they have veterans, they come out and they get to be involved. So everything from volunteering to, we work with the Arts Council here. A month ago, we put like 50 people through pottery class. Some of them were individual veterans. Some were husband and wives. We had a grandfather and a grandson. We had a mother-daughter. So yeah, we're like
moving and shaking.
Yeah, and we're trying to meet a veteran where they're at. Like there are some people that they want to go shoot. Like we have pulling and we have hunting, and we have events where people go to the range. Every month on the second Saturday of the month at our location, we do warrior breakfast. So come in, breakfast is provided by one of our partners. You're just hanging out, having coffee, talking, we try to stay away from the woe is me, pity party, sad stories. Let's be productive. Let's see how we can lean on each other, build relationships. Sometimes it's somebody meets somebody and they get a job opportunity. Sometimes it's just, hey, I need a buddy, a battle buddy. And so we're going to call each other. And somebody else says, hey, I got a couple of goals for 2025. Will you be my accountability partner? So yeah, we can't be all.
Those are the important things.
Man, you aren't kidding.
Yes.
Yeah. So when somebody calls you and you don't expect it, and they sincerely care about your well-being, that can change the trajectory of your life. So, we're spending more time now in our calendar and in our cadence, reaching out to people that are outside. So we actually just had a meeting earlier today. We're reaching out to some people and sending them some love bags in California and in Texas and other places because they're part of our community. They don't always get to come to events, but we want them to know, like, we're not just thinking about you once a year at Christmas or, Veterans Day, because Veterans Day, everybody thinks about veterans on Veterans Day, but what's going on in January or February?
Right. Well, and when it comes to trying to fight this suicide thing, there's a lot of doubt that comes with a veteran. And it's not always even after they transition. Sometimes it's after they stop deploying and life just changes drastically for them. But thank you for doing what you do over there. I had to pick your brain as an individual because right now you're in the nonprofit sector, but it sounds like you have spent a lot of time in the for-profit sector as well. So what are some of your favorite things about working in a nonprofit rather than working in a for-profit?
Oh man. Again, we don't have 4 hours, but here, a lot of people also don't understand the difference. I'm going to be real candid, and this is one of the reasons I love where I'm at now. The only difference in a for-profit and a not-for-profit company is in nonprofit, you're not allowed to stack cash, right? Okay. You're not making a profit. You're not making distributions or disbursements to shareholders, or, you're not worrying about quarterly earnings. You're not trying to make an owner rich. All of the money that you make goes back to the mission. So it's mission driven, right? So if you've got a good mission, and it doesn't matter, look, if you're trying to help autism or, cancer or whatever, those are all worthy and great missions. If you have a great mission, you get up every day and, we're not just selling a widget or trying to increase our productivity today to put money in somebody else's pocket or to make somebody wealthy or whatever. Nothing wrong with having a healthy business. That's what we're working on, to be a good, healthy business. But our healthy business is so that we can make an impact and a positive impact on lives. And at the end of the day, we can end veteran suicide. And it's never publicized, but look, right before Christmas in our local VA hospital, right downtown, a veteran took his own life in the parking lot, like he just had it, right? And that veteran been out a long time. But as you mentioned, it's not just about the And so the difference for me is at a lot of moving parts. We were constantly simply looking at the bottom line for the sake of the bottom line. And here, you have to look at the bottom line because you got to keep the doors open. You got to keep working and doing the things you can do. But we're counting success by lives impacted, right? So kind of like if you were a doctor or a nurse or a fireman putting out fires or whatever, you can count lives in different ways. You can count success differently. So, that's why it's a joy. This is my calling. I mean, I kind of used all my life experience now to come back here and give back in a different way. But, when a phone rings at 9 o'clock at night, if you work for a boss, you might be like, man, I'm supposed to be off. Like, this is my time. If a phone rings at 9 o'clock at night for us, yes, we might be with our family, et cetera, but we're thinking we need to take this call because it could be life or death, or one of our fellow brothers and sisters in arms needs help, or whatever. So this is the way I could package it. This is a get to, not a have to.
It's a privilege to be doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I say it all the time. I am honored, privileged, I'm humbled, I am grateful to be able to serve again, right? Like in that, to that audience that I served with before. Yeah.
So there are a lot of veterans who struggle with, it sounds like you help with, this is probably one of the major things that you help with. You talk about accountability partners and people who are going through the transition process and all that other stuff. One thing that they struggle with is finding them to be a valid resource out in the civilian workforce. And
Yeah.
whether that's starting your own business and feeling like you can't do it, that imposter syndrome, or, you know, looking at all these job listings and not understanding what most of the verbiage means on there, and knowing that you need to apply because you got to work somewhere and make money to support your family, but not feeling like you can because it's completely different than anything you've ever done before, which really it isn't. But the verbiage, people don't speak your same language and all that stuff. What advice would you give, just general, to a veteran audience who's struggling with their next step?
Yeah, reach out and find somebody that can help you with that bridge and that transition. We say that we have a certain focus, but we're also trying to be an aggregator of information and resources. Because look, we use different acronyms in the military. Like we have a different cadence, we have a different pace. We're used to being told what to wear, when to get where we're supposed to be, and in the civilian world, a lot of people can't even comprehend that kind of commitment, dedication. So you step out of the military and then you're like, okay, I have these skills. Like I just ran like a $5 million inventory. I know I can do it, but you don't know how to put that in verbiage that tells an employer like, hey, you can trust me more than you could probably trust anybody else. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to make the count 3 times a day and twice, in the morning again, if I need to. You don't know how to communicate that. So the best way to achieve success is find somebody who's already had the success that you want and then get with them, right? So getting with even people like me, I make myself available. We have roundtables, we have discussions. We're starting to work more with employment partners. So there's a big privately held gun range here. Supply, they have range, they do all this stuff. It's a good business. It's a big business in Oklahoma City. And so we now have worked with our HR to help them find veterans because their skills match for employees there, right? And then train them the civilian things they might need to know, or how to, we call it softening your edges a little bit. Like you can't tell somebody to pull their head out of their rectum when they're your customer, right? Where in the military, you might've said that.
Yeah.
So yeah, finding a resource, somebody, an organization, et cetera, that understands your plight and has walked that walk. Because, if a civilian tells you, well, here's what you need to do, well, they have no credibility. And any veteran, once they find out, they kind of go like, I can't really listen to you because you don't know what I've been through. And if you talk to a veteran that says, well, this is what you should do, maybe they're still active or whatever. Well, they don't know because they haven't woken up as a civilian going like, holy crap, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Even writing a resume and a cover letter and so the answer, sorry, the long story short, find somebody who's walked the journey successfully that you want to walk and get with them. So like, look, if you have listeners and you have people that have that challenge, point them in our direction, and then we can distribute too. We can't take on the world, but that's why we have partners, and we have a good veteran-owned business network. So if you're working for a veteran that owns that business, they really can empathize and know what your challenges are going to be, and they can help you navigate even from before day one, from the interview process. When they call you and say, hey, listen, relax, this is an inspection. This is a conversation. Like,
Right.
let's get to know each other.
Right. Well, and then helping veterans understand that really that's all an interview is. It's just telling them what you've done and then letting them know how that can benefit their organization. And it's not a promotion board, right? Where you're sitting there and you have to sit at the position of attention and all that other stuff. It's just a candid conversation between you and somebody that you might be going to help in a business.
Yeah, 100%. But there's some tricky things in there that go against the grain. So one of the questions that always gets asked at interviews is like, okay, what's one of your strengths? And those are easy for military people. And they're like, well, what are your weaknesses? Well, that goes against everything in the military, because in the military, if you show a weakness, if you're on profile or if you go to sick call or whatever, like that can impact your promotion. You're going to get it from everybody around you. So you never show weakness up the chain. You never show weakness down the chain. Like it inherently, it's not what you've been trained to do. So for 20 years, let's say you've been not showing weakness, and now somebody says, hey, tell me some of the areas where you need improvement. Like you're just, well, I don't even, I don't know. So even those
I think
small things.
the phrase that I'm not weak, when I start struggling, I sit down, drink water, and change my socks and get back to it.
Yeah. So believe it or not, there are people that are probably the best candidate for a job that's their normal response. And then the civilian person goes like, this is a weird kind of robot I don't know how to deal with. So their EQ isn't very high, because that's the other thing, right? In the corporate world or in the private sector world now, EQ is very important, emotional important, right? Intelligence. In the military, we don't want you to think and have emotion too much, right? So you do what you're told, park your emotions, pack them away. We'll deal with those someday in the future. And because Lord knows you don't want to go tell somebody you're having some mental health challenges, because
That's
now
true.
they might take your weapon and your hose. So yeah, there's a lot of just inherent, innate challenges to stepping out of the military and stepping into the civilian world. And so you need somebody to help you navigate those that's been there.
Yep. You're right about that. I'd like to share something with you and let the entire audience know about it. So there's a local organization here. Well, there are a few of them around here, but I don't know if your organization, if there's an organization around you that kind of holds this model, but it's called, the local one here, it's called Cedar Valley Veterans Network. And what it does, and it seems like this would be perfect if you're not already doing it in your organization, to kind of add a quick night of fun and networking. But what they do is they hold one networking event a month. And what it does is it brings the HR folks for some of these organizations that they value their veteran workforce, and they bring them to a meal where there are also veterans there who are looking for jobs. And so there's a portion where everybody just goes and sits down and eats, and then after everyone's done eating, they do the formal portion, and it's the coolest thing I've ever seen. So these veterans stand up and they're looking for work, and they're allowed to tell a little bit about themselves for about 45 seconds to a minute and a half. And then they go around the room to as many veterans who are looking for work as possible. And then they pass it over to the HR people. And then they do the same thing. And the goal for that is that by the end of the evening, at least one or two veterans have a potential conversation that might end up in an opportunity. And it's the coolest thing ever. And I don't know if you're doing that over there, but I've never seen it done anywhere but here.
We are, and we can't take credit for that originally. So there was a Navy SEAL that got out in like 2016, and then in 2017 he launched a company back east. I think it's called the Elite Agency or whatever, and they did that same model, right? So pair business owners with, at that time it was operational special, people that are in the operations world, because they have unique skills, but they don't know how to tell people. Like most people think of, you just know how to kill people. No. Like I can do all these other things, right? Like right. I got taught, logistics, and I got taught communication skills, and so yes, we're doing that, but now we're starting to expand at least our resource offering and who we refer to online, like on our website, and then when people call in. So if there's somebody in your area and we have that contact, we've vetted that partner or support association for veterans, because you got to vet them nowadays, right? Then we would turn people in certain geographic areas to those organizations. And you are correct. Like just putting them in the same room with the right intention. If everybody walks in a room with an expectation of, we have veterans that don't know how to get hired, and we have companies that need workers, like, all right, somebody help us build this bridge. And if you do it once and then you do it again, and then there's some success stories, then it brings the walls down and other people are willing. Because in the world, there's these 10% of people are early adopters. They'll try anything. You tell them, like, put these on your feet and go fly. And they're like, all right, I'll go do it. And there's that next batch that has to see, no, I got to see some success first before I'll try it. Then there's that last batch. It's like, I got to wait and see that there's tons of success. Now I'll finally get on board. And then there's that little bitty percentage. It's like, I'm never doing it no matter what. So we are probably right now in the second phase where we've had a little bit of success. And now some businesses and some other veterans are willing to give it a try.
Okay, cool. Well, this is just a broad thing, but we're towards the end of the broadcast here. What's one nugget of wisdom from your years and experience that you could share, that you'd be willing to share with the entire audience, that you think would be beneficial advice?
Man, one, huh? All right. So I always ask these people, or I say something to somebody like, what advice would you give your kids? I've got 2 grown sons and I've got granddaughters, and What I always tell them is, you are probably your worst enemy, your own worst enemy. You are going to put more limitations up against yourself than other people will put up. You're going to see, because you see yourself every day, you're going to see all the faults in yourself every day where other people are going to see the positives, and you're going to get in your own way. So if you can do, the one thing is get out of your own way, give yourself some grace, step out there and not be afraid to make a few mistakes. There's a lot of people that are going to catch you and help you when you do, and it's going to be okay.
Oh, that's great advice. And how, if people wanted to talk to you, Duane, how would they get a hold of you?
Reaching out on the website, which is Warriors for Freedom, Warriors, FOR freedom.org. My email's on there, which is Duane.Cummings@warriorsforfreedom.org. The number to our office here is on the website. And if they can't figure that out, they can do info@warriorsforfreedom.org, and that'll get sifted, and they just say, hey, I want to talk to Duane, and that'll get to me. Yeah, I mean, my name is numbers written on the bathroom wall at most Love's truck stops, so you can just call me. But yeah, I'm on all the platforms: Facebook, Twitter or X, Instagram. So find me, DM me, call the organization, email the organization. We're here to serve. We're here to help. We might not have all the answers, but we're going to point you in a direction of somebody who's qualified to help.
And that's what it's all about. Thank you, Duane. And thank you everybody who's watching now or the replay. Appreciate you coming along with me on my journey for this live stream podcast. And if you like this information, please like it, subscribe to it for sure. If you're on my YouTube page, I need that to grow because it needs more reach. In addition to that, if you found this useful, ask questions or tell us what you'd like to hear more of in the comments below. This was another episode of Victory Leaders Lounge, and we will see you all next time.
Thanks, JJ.
Yep. Thanks, Duane.